Hi Trojans! So this is the second video in the series about student-centered learning in any classroom. So just as a reminder with student-centered learning versus teacher-centered learning, with student-centered learning, we have students that are in the center. So we are really drawing on the students and having them be more accountable and responsible for their learning, drawing in their own experiences, giving them a little bit more choices in what they're learning about or how they're presenting their knowledge, and really drawing from that prior knowledge, other educators, their peers, their family, and really looking at giving them more choices. With this teacher-centered learning model, we have the teacher in the center of the classroom. So they are the ones who are giving their knowledge to the students and imparting that knowledge on the students. Now, there are times where we want teacher-centered learning, and there are times we definitely want student-centered. But my goal, in my classroom at least, is to have a more student-centered learning, have students be in the driver's seat of their learning and how they're learning it and what they're learning, and just giving them more choices with that. So with the second series, it's all about play. So it's about making time for play in your classroom. So there are a couple ways we can play games in the classroom. So have them curriculum based. One of the things that I really like doing for reviews is escape rooms. So I just did this one again recently in my class of having them go to an escape room here, and they have to click around, figure out which one is actually a clue and which one isn't a clue, because I put some things that are just like the school fight song, or like my alma mater, U of A's fight song in there. Some things were just like cool videos or whatnot that they can have in. But then some things were actually clues that they had to solve and figure out, that it all unlocked a key at the end. And the first group that got it got the beads of knowledge, what I call my classroom, just like these little plastic beads. And then everybody who got it got some candy in the process, just as a prize. Now, this was a great way because we had been a couple of weeks. I could see that like some of the things weren't quite sticking, or I wanted them to remember things a little bit more. But I didn't really want to give them a quiz. I don't know. I just didn't feel like that's what I wanted to do to review this. So this was a great way to get them back looking in their notes, to review their material, to look at all this stuff. So this would be great before a quiz or a test, or it could just be good, like pause and just kind of reflect on what we've been learning so far and kind of remember what we've been learning so far. And then, of course, we have some great apps that we can use, like Kahoot and Quizlet. And then I kept Flippity on here because I'm hoping it'll come back soon. But with one of the recent Google updates, it actually had messed with the Flippity code. But Flippity is this awesome free website where you can make all sorts of stuff, from name randomizers to crossword puzzles to scavenger hunt type of activities. All sorts of game just by using Google spreadsheets. And so I am hoping it comes back soon because it's one of my favorite websites. Or not. It could just be for fun. So one of the things I did during the breakouts, or during Zoom, or distance learning world, is that I had students create collaborative drawings. So I put students into group and they had to create a collaborative scene. So they could choose an ocean scene or draw a picture of LaSalle High School, or they could do, I think, a forest. And so having students talk together and be able to draw together. Now you can still do this one in person, just get the kids into groups and put them into like their different tables instead of rooms, and have them create this collaborative drawing together. Some other fun activities, again, thinking about, curriculum based or not curriculum based, some really easy ones at the beginning of class, just like we did with distance learning. It's just asking those SEL or low risk questions at the beginning. So I actually use Slido a lot. It's an extension or on Google Slides here, and I really like it. I insert slides all the time, so I just have a quick question that I ask students. These aren't things that I'm necessarily testing on, but might be for a quick reflection, kind of gauge where the students are at. But Slido is a really quick way to insert things and to have kids respond in the classroom. With Slido, just as a side note, you can't track who answered. You can just track the numbers. So I kind of walk around the room as I do this, and then just kind of look at the number count. But again, I'm using this more of what are you grateful for today? What's, something that you're looking forward to these weeks? Kind of these lower risk questions. Then the other thing here is social time. So I think students, especially now, a lot of my students at the beginning of the year said they didn't know how to talk to people. They weren't quite sure how to talk to people. That's definitely not so much the case anymore, but I still think it's important, especially if you change up the classroom setting at all. So if you have new groups, or if you gave them new seats, give them a couple minutes for like the first week of just getting some social time. So one way I like to build that in is there's this wheel here that will uh, just have like a random questions. And so we'll do like maybe one or two questions for the first time we have a new group. And so it kind of gets them talking, getting them interacting, getting them used to each other again before I'm asking them to do a curriculum together. Um, you can also have them get up and play. This again was from distance learning, but this is from a science teacher's classroom where she had them get up. I forget, I think this one was for volume, and they had to find something with a volume or mass volume, and I can't remember the first one anymore. But having them find materials in their house to demonstrate this. You can still do this in person. Maybe this is a homework assignment they have to find, or items in the classroom. Like, can they look around the classroom, maybe do a scavenger hunt, maybe even put random items in the classroom where they still have to go and look for those items and kind of figure them out. And then one of my newest ones that I absolutely love comes from Mr. Ramirez. So thank you, Mr. Ramirez. But this is our Mario Kart, or I should say his Mario Kart. I'm totally taking credit, but it's not mine. This is Mario Kart. So what he does is he has a Mario Kart racetrack here, and it is divided into sections, as you can see. And he gives group members like math problems. And as he walks around the room, he they can determine how far they go. So what's not included on here are the actual like little characters. So groups can pick out which character they are. So they race around the track. And so the first die that you roll, you can have a student, it's just to determine who speaks. So is it the team captain or the facilitator, or who is going to be explaining the math problem? So that again holds all students accountable and responsible for explaining the learning. Then the second role, if they get it right, is if it's determined how far they go. Now he did tell me that if he uses like the Dungeons and Dragon die, like the different sided die, so as the questions get harder, they get different roles, which again makes it a little bit more fun and progresses like a normal game would progress. You can also get power ups here. And so it's just a really fun way. And I have to say that my students, the reason I actually went into Mirror is because I had so many students that told me about this game, that this was their favorite activity of the week. And so anytime you get sophomore students that are like, this is it, like this is my favorite activity of the week, is this math review game, I had to find out what it was. So this one is super fun, and it can be really customized for any content. So you can put in your own twist to this. You can put your own content to this. Maybe they're filling out like a study guide or whatever content that you're having. It can easily be switched, and simple for like you can keep the game board for each class each time and just kind of go through. Another game that I have done this year is called Taskmaster. My husband and I have been obsessed with this British TV show called Taskmaster, and you can find it on YouTube. Not necessarily a show in the class, but it's fun to watch on your own. But I recently did this where it's a great way for students too. So kind of building like team or group activities or whatever you want to like customize it. Again, it's one of those activities that you can easily customize. So with Taskmaster, you get a task that you have to do. And the task at first seemed a little weird or like impossible to do. So the one we did, I actually stole from some other school activities, but was to fit an entire person through an index card. So they had one index card that they had to try to figure out how to shape it in order to fit an entire person through. And I gotta say, it didn't take much time. It took me maybe 10 minutes for students to kind of figure out, or at least have the first group done. But the students really wanted to keep trying and keep going over it. And I added additional challenges, like they couldn't use tape or glue, that they had to go through. And it was just a really great way to kind of get them to work together and to do activities. Now I'm going to continue doing Taskmaster challenges in my class throughout the year. And so sometimes I think I'll make them content related. So I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to do this yet, but it was just a really great way to do an activity and have those students work together, and for them to really use their critical thinking skills and, kind of their like, what are we doing? Type of mind frame, to really kind of really think critically about whatever we were doing. So just wanted to throw that out there. It's another really fun activities to get kids moving and thinking about the content. One reason that I really like games is just because it does just kind of put the learning, it makes, instead of like, oh, what are we learning today? It kind of takes that element out of it a little bit. So they're still learning the content, they're still reviewing the content, but there's that competitiveness that a lot of students have and just a lot of fun things with it. Game. All right, so if you have any questions about making time for play or any student-centered learning activities, I love this stuff, so please contact me and I'd be happy to help. Have a great day, children.